rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
And welcome in a very happy Wednesday to you now, the 18th of December. It is GameTime Decisions on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you stopping by as we do have a off night in the NBA as teams resume regular season play tomorrow after the Milwaukee Bucks decided they were not interested in hearing all about the Oklahoma City Thunder being younger and faster and stronger and the upcoming team. The old guard there in Milwaukee did very much what the Los Angeles Lakers did 1 year ago against that upstart Indiana Pacers team. They beat the living snots out of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they are your champions. Now, what does that mean when it comes to ultimately the NBA Finals and the NBA Championship? Not a damn thing. It just basically means that Giannis, in addition to his championship ring, now has an NBA Cup. But more importantly, Damian Lillard apparently finally has won something in the NBA. But it was exciting early and then boring late. But they'll all resume tomorrow as the regular season continues here. And we all know the NBA kicks off on Christmas anyway, and we're looking very forward to those games. A lot of great storylines in the association, a lot of great matchups on the court in college basketball here tonight, as we've got a ton of top 25 teams in play, in action here tonight, with a lot, and I mean an awful lot of games getting ready to tip off. You've got, of course, Virginia Tech, South Carolina. We've got Creighton, too, in going in a big battle tonight against the one and only Georgetown Hoyas. Can you believe Georgetown is back in the conversation again? That is exactly correct. Far too long, the Georgetown Hoyas have been just, well, the bottom of the college basketball hierarchy, but not anymore. They're going to have a big game here tonight with an opportunity to prove to everyone that they are back. Now, will they? That's a different story, but looking forward to that game coming up a little bit later here tonight. We also have, and I believe that game tips off at the bottom of this hour, in fact, at the Capital One Arena in D.C., where Georgetown will try and get it rolling in there. We also have Memphis taking on Virginia here tonight, and Virginia finds themselves as a dog in this matchup here. This line has gotten shot up to 4.5. This one's going to be in Charlottesville as Virginia is going to try and get it going here at 6-4 on the season. When your Hall of Fame head coach decides to retire a week before the season starts, things get a little bit crazy. Tony Bennett stepping down, passing the reins. It hasn't been your typical Virginia season thus far, but they'll have an opportunity to take down a top 25 team in Memphis and Penny here tonight. Once again, a lot of money seems to be coming in on the under in that matchup there. We also have Xavier taking on UConn at 7 o'clock, top of the hour. I think this one is going to be interesting as UConn, after that slow start, shall we say, in Hawaii, didn't work out all that well. Questions arising all over the place. Did UConn make a mistake with Hurley? The guy's only won back-to-back national championships. But, yeah, a slow start, I guess we can start sticking a fork in him. Turns out that might have been a little premature here as they've rattled off a couple of big wins here against top 25 teams. Now they'll take on a Xavier team at home in Hartford here. And, boy, are they laying a big number. Did you see that one, too? Almost 2 touchdowns with a $146. Something tells me not a lot of people are going to be running to get in front of that UConn train here. And I can't say I blame you at all for avoiding it. One of the other games I'm looking forward to here tonight would be the Dons of San Francisco. Nice little mid-major battle going on here, taking on the Bradley Braves. The Dons sitting at 9-2. The Bradley Braves sitting at 8-2. Bradley is at home in Illinois, and this is the first true road game for the San Francisco Dons here tonight. Cheap price in that game for Bradley. I had no problem jumping on them to take down the San Francisco Dons, as traveling east, a little bit different than being at home. So looking forward to that. And, of course, Butler taking on Marquette as the night continues on. That's going to be 9 o'clock Eastern time tip there in Milwaukee. 9-2 Marquette sits. 7-4 for Butler. It's a lot of points for Marquette laying in this one. 14 now. 13.5, 14 points. Looks like what it is up to as the money continues to roll in on number 9, Marquette. But I don't know that I'd be sleeping on Butler in this one. Also, Alabama traveling to North Dakota. What? That is correct. Alabama taking on North Dakota in this one. As you can see that number at 25.5. That is an interesting number. It is not one that I'd be running to the window to lay either. I'd be very careful with this North Dakota team. And yes, they sit at 4-8, but that's a long way to travel for Alabama with not a whole lot of rivalry involved in this game. Alabama could very well just be glad to walk away with the win, while North Dakota, well, this is the kind of game that the kids who play at North Dakota look forward to each and every year. The Zags have a cakewalk a little bit later, too, taking on Nichols there. They're about a 9 million point favorite. But how about the game of the night, I think, as Michigan sitting at 9-2 on the year. Dusty May, former Florida Atlantic Owls head coach, takes over the Michigan Wolverines. And, they're a pretty good team. And they're taking on the undefeated Oklahoma Sooners here, sitting at 10-0, but no offense to Alcorn State, when you compare the teams that Michigan has had to play thus far, and then you look at the Oklahoma schedule, well, that's a head scratcher. But hey, you can only play the games that are on your schedule, right? Oklahoma has won them all. I think they're going to be hard pressed to get another one here tonight against Michigan. You got some late night games too, including the Apple Cup, if they still call that, right? Washington State is what the late night game will be at the Alaska Airlines Arena in Seattle. Washington, a slight favorite in that one. So needless to say, got a lot of great college hoops. We do have, of course, couple of college football bowl games getting ready to go here tonight. In fact, James Madison has wasted no time. They're already out ahead of Western Kentucky 7-0 at the Boca Raton Bowl. That is already kicked off. Coming up, the LA Bowl, 9 o'clock Eastern time tonight. The Cal Bears taking on the UNLV Running Rebels. We'll have more on that game. As we have learned, of course, UNLV will not have their offensive coordinator. Barry Odom, their head coach this year, has already left. Justin Wilcox, the head coach of Cal, well, he's going to have to mix and match because he's got a lot of guys not playing in this game also. So much to get to, including a nice slate of games in the NHL. We'll talk to our friend George Kurtz next, see what he thinks about the ice tonight as Game Time Decisions. We're just getting started here on the grid. Come back and join us.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of a week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was Lincoln! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Off and Running here. Game Time Decisions on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri, joined by my good friend Mark Zinno here, ready to roll. Maybe put a parlay, sloppy parlay if that together here tonight, as we've got plenty of options here, Zinno, especially college football, the bowl games. One of them underway already, Boca Raton Bowl in my neck of the woods here, Zin. Looks like JMU didn't waste any time, jumped out to a quick 7-0 lead over Western Kentucky. Not a lot of guys on both sides playing here tonight that we were used to seeing during the season, but that's bowl season, man, which is why it makes it so hard to to handicap games 2 weeks out from when they're being played, because outside of the playoffs, who in the heck is playing in these games? Do we even know at this point?
Yeah, and eliminating variance becomes increasingly more difficult when you don't know, literally leading up to the day of the game, who's playing and who's not. And that was sort of the case for Western Kentucky and James Madison. It looks like that Caden Veldkamp is playing for Western Kentucky. So, I would have probably just, if you put a gun to my head, I probably would have taken the 7 points just because it felt like it was a lot. That said, again, you look at this game here, and with all the variants, I couldn't get there on anything. Like I said, there was nothing really about this game that intrigued me from a motivation standpoint. An 8-5 team and an 8-4 team. It didn't, there was nothing to prove. These are two sort of, group of 5 schools, and I couldn't really find an angle to get home with. So I stayed off of it. I do have a little bit of an angle in the late game, though.
Yeah, well, that's good. That one's 9 o'clock. The LA Bowl, you've got, it was kind of tough to figure out. We know there was coaching changes. We just learned, I think, earlier today, right? The offensive coordinator for UNLV not going to be a part of this game. Cal also has some defection as far as quarterbacks and some of the big players this year, but Wilcox still there, the head coach. Ultimately, 2.5 points here. Zin, how are we looking at the LA Bowl tonight?
Yeah, given the fact that both of these offenses have a lot of departures through the transfer portal and opt-outs, and not only that, you have quarterbacks who are not playing in the game, particularly for UNLV, and Cal doesn't have any sort of running back. Their quarterback not in this game. I just looked at the under and said it's not going to be all that good of a game. I mean, really, these are not really potent offenses to begin with. Cal's offense is not very good. Even when they were healthy, Cade Knott isn't even their big back anymore. He sort of just fell apart mid-season. So I don't really trust Cal to score a lot of points here. I know UNLV probably has a little bit more motivation to win the game, to beat a Power 4 school, a school from the ACC in Cal. But even though Cal sort of has the regional home game advantage, if the Cal fans show up, they're a lot closer to LA than UNLV fans are. So if that matters to you at all or not. But I just looked at the under. And again, I think that the market's going that way. If you look at what we've seen so far, this total's now down to 45.5, Joe. So all day long, the thing is it for the under, with good reason, as again, with the lack of people playing in this game, it just feels like you're not going to see some high-level football.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't expect a whole lot of that. And again, the go-go offense, the architect for that for UNLV is, well, he's go-go and he's gone. He won't be here. So that's a bit of a problem. But it should be an entertaining game as well. And Wilcox has always been great as an underdog there at Cal. We'll see what he can come up with here tonight. I've seen a lot of people looking at this Tulane and Florida game as the line continues to move towards Florida. I think it's up over two touchdowns now, 14.5, the Gasparilla Bowl. Listen, it's in their backyard. It's going to be a very pro-Florida crowd. Tulane, everyone's acting as if this backup quarterback is he was a 5-star. Yes, so what? He went to Tulane, and he couldn't play. So I'm not sure what we're going to get from a team that feels like they quit. But Florida's got nobody in the portal. Nobody seems to be wanting to leave Florida here. So what are we going to get in that one?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. Billy Napier sort of saved his job mid-season, right? With the win over LSU after things were trending really badly. But nonetheless, Florida gets to this bowl game here. And I think, Florida, for as good as they have been, I don't discount Tulane at all. This feels like it's getting way too big of a number here. Look, we saw Tulane. Was it last year that they hung with, or was it 2 years ago they hung with USC right after USC got knocked out of the playoff? They came in there. I think they may have upset them. I can't remember correctly, but I know it was a much tighter game than the number ever indicated. I think it was over a touchdown. And so Tulane sort of thrives in these spots and has always been a tough out. They can score. They can score against anybody. They've proven that time again. So I'd be very weary about laying 11 or 12 points with Florida at this point in time.
It's that game is also coming up. I believe that one is going to be on Friday night, or at least Friday at 5:30 Eastern time. What about the Cure Bowl? Jacksonville State is another interesting game coming up, taking on Ohio, who we saw take down the MAC in epic fashion, by the way. That did not – where was that team all year long? And is that good enough in order to win this game against Jacksonville State?
Well, another spot where you missed the best of the number, right? I mean, this thing opened up at Ohio -2. Now we're seeing 4.5s, even a couple of 5s are floating out there already on OU against Jacksonville State. The game is actually, at JSU Stadium. So this is a interesting spot here for Jacksonville State. Essentially a home game for them, and Ohio's favorite here. I just have a problem playing close to a touchdown with a MAC school, right? Like, generally, don't we feel like that's just a dangerous spot? These are not high-powered offenses. It's sort of slugfest nonstop in the MAC, and not that Jacksonville State is anything to get excited about, but still, I would have a hard time laying this big of a number. If you miss the 2, maybe you just look to a first-half money line on Ohio, see if they can have an early lead. But I would be cautious about laying this number 2 as well.
So we've got a very interesting slate of games here as we wind down the NFL regular season. That's Week 16 coming up. I want to get your thoughts on some of these games set and some of these lines that are a bit head-scratching here this week, Zin. We'll break those games down when Game Time Decisions continues next here on the Grid.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all, because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri joined again by our good friend Mark Zinno as we take a look ahead here to this Week 16 NFL slate here, Zinno. And I mean, call me crazy here. This has got train wreck written all over it. You're there in Atlanta with these Falcons who made the questionable move to all of a sudden now at Week 16. Yeah, let's throw Michael Penix Jr. in there. What happens if they don't beat the lowly Giants here? Whose does that fall on? Like, whose fault is that, do you think?
Well, the Giants fan answer is Brian Daboll and everybody on the Giants coaching staff, because they should not be trying to win a football game the rest of the year. Let's be perfectly clear on that. So somehow the Falcons lose this game, it's completely the Giants' fault, not the Falcons' fault. But all that said, leaving my fandom out of it, it's incredible. Nobody's ever made a change, unless it was due to injury, this late in the season for a team that literally was in a playoff chase and a chance to win their division. You just don't see it. Now, no one's going to sit here and make excuses for Kirk Cousins' play. It's really, really hard. But there are a lot of things that you can point to that don't necessarily relate to specifically to the quarterback. Look, they lost 2 games because they have an idiot kicker who can't make kicks. That's part of that 4-game losing streak. If the guy you actually gave over $1 million a year to, which is maniacal to give a kicker that much money, but, actually did his damn job and put the ball through the uprights, and guess what? Kirk Cousins probably isn't on the bench right now because you're still in first place and you're still leading the division for as bad as he's played. And you're just sort of riding this thing out to see if we can't, fix it before the playoffs get started. That's not the case. So, I'm sure the organization will spin this. Well, this is why we drafted him, in case this scenario happened. Yeah, you drafted him because you wanted Kirk Cousins to play well 2 years down the road. There's not often that many organizations can make a $180 million mistake, which at this point, signing Kirk Cousins looks like a $180 million mistake, and it costs nobody their job, right? Like, who makes a $180 million error and still gets to keep their job? That's essentially what the Falcons did at this point in time. So while some people are applauding the fact that their lifeboat works, I wouldn't applaud the fact that you crashed the Titanic into an iceberg, because that's the only reason you're in the lifeboat at this point.
So let me ask you this here, though, Zin, because, is anybody talking about the rookie OC, Zach Robinson? And if you couldn't get, then how in the hell, if you can't get a veteran like Kirk Cousins, who you're paying $40 million to actually do anything? I mean, they've only scored 6 offensive touchdowns since week 10. The Giants have 8. We're on the same plane here. At some point, doesn't that fall on him?
It does. Look, and when I said no one's going to excuse Kirk Cousins' play, but there are a lot of things you can point to, Zach Robinson being one of them. I think he's an OC who's in over his head. I still don't think he's got the play calling down yet. I don't think there's any really creativity to the offense. I think they've become very predictable. They've taken away the best thing that you can do for a guy like Kirk Cousins, which is play action, especially with a guy like Bijan Robinson. They've become one of the lower teams in the NFL, and you're making it very easy on defenses to figure out how to pick off Kirk Cousins. And plus, you have an offensive line that doesn't protect him all that well. So, you've got a lot of problems. And the idea that all you could try to do is get the ball into Bijan's hands or Drake London's hands is, I guess, as simple as the offense gets, but you become really predictable in that sense. So, yes, to answer your question, Zach Robinson probably bears a lot of this, but, then again, you have to put that also back on the head coach for going, okay, well, OC, you need to fix this because this isn't tenable for us.
There's Bill Belichick just laughing it up, collecting his money in North Carolina right now. Unbelievable.
You know who's laughing more than anything after Monday night? It's got to be Arthur Smith, who was the coach who got fired. Because if you watch Desmond Ridder play on Monday night, how the hell the Falcons won 9 games with him as a starter is beyond me. It makes Arthur Smith a better coach than I ever thought he was, because he won 9 games. That slop fest of a quarterback. Like, that is unreal. That's the guy, if he was still here, I guarantee you would have this team at 9 or 10 wins already.
Are we looking at an under in this game, by the way? I don't see how else we can look at it. Drew Lock looks to be on center. I mean, is there any way we're getting a game in the 40s here?
I mean, not unless the Giants get to 14, 17, which they haven't been able to do in a lot of weeks. So the one time they got to 14 last week was sort of a garbage touchdown in the fourth quarter when the game was out of hand. I don't know if the Falcons will be leading by that much. We'll find out. It's going to be interesting, because if they don't blow this team out or they don't at least win this thing convincingly, there's going to be some rumbles in Atlanta.
6 offensive touchdowns since week 10. Will they make it to 7? Mark Zinno, appreciate it as always, my man. The Wizard, Kenny White, steps in next here on the Grid.
there's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri, and joined right now, he joins us each and every week with our good friend Chris Thurston, CT Bets, but CT is just too good to join us here now, Kenny, because all those winners he's been giving out. So it's just you and I, the wizard Kenny White, in the house here to talk some college football and college football bowl and playoff games here. Kenny, we got one game that is underway right now down the road for me. In fact, the Boca Raton Bowl. Western Kentucky's tied it up 7 apiece. Start there. Did you like anything in this game? Was this a game that that you looked at? It felt like the market was running all towards Western Kentucky late. It's tied right now. What did you feel beforehand?
I did. I took Western Kentucky. I took 7 earlier in the day. I liked that their quarterback was back. James Madison has had a really good year, but they were great early on. Remember when they beat North Carolina 70-50 and then put up a 63 the next week? Since then they were 3-6-1 ATS. So they really came back down to earth. They just beat up North Carolina on a bad day, and they beat up a bad Ball State team. So they're good, but I think Western Kentucky has a little embarrassment factor there in that game, losing their last game to Jacksonville by 40.
Yeah, a lot of embarrassment. You beat them barely, and then you get blown out by them a week later. It was kind of crazy. Tonight in Inglewood, though, we've got the L.A. Bowl, and there has been a lot discussed about this game on the UNLV side, a team in your backyard there. Kenny, I understand the go-go architect offensive coordinator not there for the game tonight. A lot of question marks regarding who's in and who is out. Wilcox has always been profitable as a dog. Will he be profitable again tonight as a dog against this UNLV team?
I hope not. I got my UNLV gear on, and I didn't even think about it this morning when I put it on that they're playing. I'm glad that Dan Mullen's coming in. I think that, Barry Odom did a tremendous job. He was the kind of guy, sweatshirts, shorts, a whistle, and a hat, and I'm going to coach you guys up. And that's what we needed. I'm hoping Dan Mullen is the same type of guy that's here to coach guys up instead of, recruiting them and letting them do their own thing. But this UNLV team's a better team. The biggest key for me in the game is California. Without their quarterback, Mendoza, he's out. The second stringer, the drop-offs, 5.5 points. It showed in the last game of the year against SMU, and I think it shows against UNLV here. I think Cal will struggle offensively, but their defense is good. And I have UNLV's defense ranked 30th best in the country. So I think there's going to be a high-scoring game. California's median score on the year was 24-19. That's 43 points, and that's with Mendoza at quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, but he's out. They scored 6 points against SMU. I went under this total.
Woo, love that. Yeah, and it's been crashing all day long here. 46, 45 and a halfs popping up now in the marketplace. All right, Kenny, Friday we get our very first game of the entire college football playoff, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Notre Dame taking on the Indiana Hoosiers. Hard to believe that they don't have a lot of history. You would think that we have this game, every couple of years, but we don't. This is a rare meeting between these two. Winner takes on Georgia. Who's taking on Georgia in the Sugar Bowl?
Yeah, so you're right, Joe. So for 33 years now, the Indiana AD would pick the phone up and say, hey, Notre Dame AD, what's going on? And the Notre Dame AD says, I don't know. What's up, little brother? And Indiana AD says, hey, let's play this year or next year. Let's put it on the schedule. Notre Dame AD says, nah, that's okay. We don't really want to play. Thanks. Have a good year. They've been hearing that for 30-some years. Notre Dame has been turning them down. And now Indiana gets their chance. And Kurt Signe's had a really good year. This is a good football team. They learned a lot about themselves at Ohio State. I think they're going to get much better from that. This is a really good defense. And the quarterback, if I read the quarterback stats off, one guy is 66%, 7.1 yards a pass, 16 touchdowns, 5 INTs. The other guy, 70%, 9.9 yards a pass, 27 touchdowns, 4 INTs. Which quarterback do you want?
Yep. Yeah. I'm with you. I can't believe they're less than 200 miles apart, and it's been 33 years since they played one another. It's kind of absolutely mind-blowing. Does it help them that they lost to Ohio State? You think that experience can help them in this, or are we just talking about a different class of teams here?
No doubt about it. It helps them. That was the best team they've seen this year. And when that happens, it's all about experience. A friend of mine took his kid to the gym to do some UFC fighting, and he never fought before. He trained, and his very first fight, he got knocked down on the ground and was beaten in 30 seconds into the fight. He then fought 3 other fighters, and then the 5th fight that day, he went up against the same guy that he fought the very first fight, and he kicked that kid's butt in less than a minute. So that fast, that kid got that experience, and that's what happens in sports. Indiana gained valuable experience at Ohio State that day, and they're going to go on the field, nothing to lose. Notre Dame has everything to lose in this football game.
What are we to expect? Which SMU team shows up? The one in the second half from a week ago, Kenny, or the one in the first half against Clemson? Because if that second half team shows up, I think Penn State's in trouble.
That's a very good point. Rhett Lashley, I love him coming out.
Yeah.
He's a young coach, 2 years head coach, and speaking out about the transfer portal. He's already into this, and he's saying it because he didn't lose a quarterback. Preston Stone, the backup who lost his job, is staying. Penn State's backup quarterback decided to leave, and I think they do need to change that rule. No transfer portal until after January. Kids can find a place to go. They know where they're going anyway. But Kevin Jennings has been really good. I thought SMU was the right side against Clemson. They turned the ball over early. They fell way behind, but they showed how good they were, and they came storming back and put themselves in a chance to win that game. So they're really good. I like SMU in this spot. Again, I think all the pressure's on Penn State. I don't care if it's a whiteout or not. Kevin Jennings is going to put up some numbers in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, listen, Kenny, these are we saw last week conference championships. We couldn't find anybody sniff as a touchdown or more favorite. We got nothing but touchdown favorites or more in this. And you want to talk about playing with house money. So Clemson and Dabo are just going to roll over because they're playing Texas? Because that's what the market in this line is telling me here, Kenny.
You're right, but I don't think so. They're not going to roll over, obviously. We know Dabo. We know what a great coach he is. He probably could have a couple national championships if he would have fallen in love with the transfer portal. But he's been the one guy that says, I don't want anything to do with it. I want to recruit high school kids. I want to bring them in to fit my system. I want to develop them, and I want to make them better, and I want to compete for national championships that way. So that's what they do. He's got a really good quarterback. Kate Klubnik's touchdown to interception ratio speaks for itself. We know Ewers is not 100% for Texas. I love Texas. There's a good football team. I've been betting on them all year long, but they haven't been a good cover team the last 7 weeks. 2-5 ATS. Clemson hasn't been either, but this is going to be a closer game than the line indicates. Texas will celebrate like they won the Super Bowl if they win by 1. We got a chance to stay within a big number here. Let's take the Tigers.
We trust the Texas defense more, I'm guessing here. When we come back, I'm interested in your thoughts on the total in that game because it does seem to be getting bet in that one, plus Tennessee, Ohio State. Plus, we'll talk some NFL. Come back and join us. Kenny White's here. Game Time Decisions rolls on here on the grid.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. The Wednesday edition. Joe Raineri joined by our good friend Kenny White in the house here as we're talking some college football playoffs begin. The very first 12-team playoff begins this week. We were talking Clemson and Texas, Kenny, there before the break. And I'm looking at this total at 51.5, and you and I were just talking off air going, Man, that is a big number, especially with a Texas defense that I think, to me, is certainly championship quality. And listen, Dabo has been here and done this more than anybody. I just don't see how 51.5 points with two teams that are in a playoff, it feels like a huge number to me.
Hey, Texas has played close to the best the last end of the part of the season, and they're 7-1-1 to the under. And let me give you median scores. Clemson, I took their 4 most difficult road games: Florida State, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, and Pittsburgh. None of those are great teams, but they're above average college football teams. Final score, Clemson 27-14, 41 points. Texas, in their home games, I took Mississippi State, Georgia, Florida, Kentucky, and Georgia again. I used the Georgia game twice. 23.5-17, 41 points. So I think you're onto something there, Joe. It's going to be a very conservative football game, and I like it under as well.
So we got the final game, Kenny. Tennessee taking on Ohio State. We're talking about Clemson playing with house money and all the pressure on Texas, all the pressure on Penn State, right, and Notre Dame. I don't know that anybody has more pressure than Ohio State. If you finish the year losing to Michigan, missing out with your rematch against Oregon, and then you get bounced out in the first game of the college football playoff, well, Cignetti might very well be the next head coach of Ohio State. But it's a touchdown right now. What are we thinking about this game? Does Tennessee have a shot?
Yeah, Joe, I made this number right on at Ohio State. Well, I made it actually a little higher, 7.5 on Ohio State. And I know our man Viva CT Betts loves Ohio State. I think that he loves the angle that they're playing at nighttime, and Ohio State hasn't had one of these nighttime games yet. And I can understand that. I mean, you think of LSU and their night football games, and everybody's been partying all day, and that crowd's crazy. Tennessee's not going to be intimidated. They've been in these type of atmospheres before, so I don't think there is any intimidation factor. I'm curious about Chip Kelly and what he does on offense. They lose the game to Michigan that could have gotten them a bye into the Final 8, and they lose 13-10 at home to Michigan, their biggest rival, the game they cannot lose, and they were so conservative. I don't think they're going to be able to be conservative here because Michigan's offense stinks. Tennessee has playmakers everywhere and a quarterback with a big-time arm that can run if he needs to. And I think Tennessee, Josh Heupel, is one of the best offensive minds in college football. He's shown it now for 7 years that he knows how to coach up offenses. So I think it's a game where Tennessee is going to score and get ahead, and Ohio State's going to have to get more aggressive, and Will Howard's going to have to push the ball down the field. I think Ohio State ends up winning the game, but I would rather take the points. But I love the game over the total because Ohio State has to get aggressive here.
Yeah, and that's the big question, Kenny, I had for you is what is Ryan Day and Chip Kelly? What exactly are they going to use the same game plan they used for Michigan, or are they just going to air it out? Like I don't even know what that was against Michigan. Do you think this is all about Will Howard and the wide receivers, therefore it correlates to the over? It has to.
I think it does. I think if you're Ryan Day and you play the same way you played against Michigan and you lose, he could be looking for a job on Monday. So I know Chip Kelly will be looking for a job on Monday if that's what happens. So they just can't play that way. They were going against Michigan, who they knew had no offense. They know Tennessee can light up the scoreboard. So they're gonna play more aggressive in this game. They're gonna take chances downfield. They're gonna let Will Howard throw the football. And I think this total is way too low. And I think it was made and being bet as if it's Michigan, Ohio State once again, but it's not. It's Tennessee.
Let me ask you one final one. We'll dive into a couple NFL plays. With these teams knowing there's 2, possibly 3 more games ahead of them here, are they leaving everything out on the field? Do you expect maybe in some of these games that are you know, hey, they're one. These are big stretches here. I mean, big spreads here. Are they going to leave anything in the bag here and not show all their cards?
Yeah, Joe, I think, you've been an athlete all your life. This is a must-win game. It's win or go home. They're going to put it on the table. If they got a big lead, you're not going to see a trick play out of these coaches up 3 touchdowns.
Right.
But they'll use everything in their playbook while that game's being competitive.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see too if it goes right to the ground with those winning teams. They just keep rushing and trying to get the hell out of there. Titans Colts, disgusting game, but one you think the total is worth looking at.
Yeah, Joe, I bet it under already. Again, I made this much lower than what the total is out there, and I didn't write it on my sheet. It's in the 40s, I believe.
42, 42 and a half. Yep.
Yeah, 42 and a half between these two. So, yeah, look at the quarterback play. Will Levis, 6.7 yards per pass, 12 touchdowns, 12 INTs. He's right now about an average NFL quarterback, and I can say the same thing for Richardson and the entire quarterback room for the Colts. So projected final scores this year, the median score is Tennessee 27-17. They're losing by that score, and the Colts the same. That's against the entire league. When they play against each other, I think in this setting, it's going to be a much lower scoring game. I think the defenses prevail here.
Tell the folks where they can see you, Kenny, during the week, brother.
Oh, easy, Joe. It's KennyWhiteSports.com or go to YouTube. Catch me on Bet the Gambit every morning, 7 a.m. or at the Sound Point, Sports by the Book.
Or here on Wednesdays. Kenny, as always, brother, we appreciate the time, my man. Game Time Decisions continues next here on the Grid.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. It is Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. As we close out this first hour together, a quick update. Western Kentucky looks like they are getting ready to put more points on the board against James Madison there, the Boca Raton Bowl at the FAU campus. It is 7-7 currently, but they're under a minute to go, I believe, in the second quarter. So that game is flying by. Not a lot of scoring, which would explain why the total was getting absolutely steamed down before kickoff. A little bit of wind and rain here in Boca Raton, but Western Kentucky with an opportunity to take the lead into the break tonight. California, UNLV. That'll be your L.A. Bowl. Looking forward to that. And then, of course, tomorrow you've got the New Orleans Bowl with Georgia Southern taking on Sam Houston. And then Friday, a couple of very interesting bowl games. Keep in mind the Cure Bowl when you have Ohio, the MAC winner taking on Jacksonville State. You got the Gasparilla Bowl with Tulane taking on Florida, and Florida continues to get bet here. And I happen to think Florida is going to absolutely destroy Tulane, but that's my personal opinion. And then, of course, the college football playoffs kick off with Indiana and Notre Dame. So we've got plenty going on here over the next couple of days when it comes to college football. NBA is off here tonight, but we're going to have we have a ton of college basketball happening right now. And, of course, some of the bigger games getting ready to tip off a little bit later. But currently, Creighton and Georgetown, a game at the Capital One Arena in D.C., and Georgetown with an early lead there, 25-18. That is a game in which I did like the under, but I don't know that that's trending in the under because Georgetown is scoring at will here against Creighton. We'll see if that can continue. Big games coming up a little bit later here tonight that we are certainly going to talk about coming up next hour, including Memphis and Virginia. Get ready for that game in about 6 minutes at the John Paul Jones Arena in Virginia. Memphis laying 4 right now, maybe even 4.5, as Virginia just not a big favorite in the marketplace right now. Wouldn't shock me if Virginia covers and the game goes woefully under that total. And then, of course, UConn and Xavier, another game coming up here with UConn finally figuring some things out. And now they are back to huge overvalued in the market. They're laying 14 against Xavier. I wouldn't necessarily be running to the window to lay that with them here. And then, of course, tonight, some really good games coming up in the 8 and 9 o'clock hours. Marquette at home taking on Butler, top 25 action. And again, I think that's a big number for Marquette, who is home in Milwaukee, but Butler not going to go down quietly. Laying 2 touchdowns in this one is a big number, and so is laying 25.5 for Alabama, taking on North Dakota in North Dakota here. And Alabama just wants to win the game and moves on. If they North Dakota is going to bring it. I think this is going to be a tough one for Bama. They'll just be happy to win and leave North Dakota as soon as humanly possible. So a lot of games still coming up a little bit later, including a Big Apple Cup match between Washington State and Washington. That's at 11 o'clock Eastern here tonight. And let's not forget, and I'm looking forward to this game, Michigan, number 24 in the country, taking on the undefeated Oklahoma Sooners at 10-0. But Oklahoma undefeated. Oh, yeah, that's right. They're getting points here. They're not the favorite. I think that tells you all you need to know. The Jumpman Classic there in Charlotte, North Carolina should be a good one. Is Oklahoma, despite their cupcake schedule, are they this good? They're going to have to prove it against Dusty May and the Michigan Wolverines here tonight. I have my doubts. This is a legit Michigan defense here tonight. And I think they'll limit the Oklahoma threes for sure, like Michigan, like the under in that game. Handful of games on the ice here tonight, guys, as we're getting ready for what should be a great night of action. Philadelphia and Detroit, Toronto, Dallas, Florida, the champs, taking on Minnesota. We'll have updates on all of it as another hour of Game Time Decisions continues here on the Grid.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions as we are off and running hour number 2 together here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you stopping by as we've got nice slate of games here in the NHL tonight. They are going as Florida, Minnesota, the champs taking on the Minnesota Wild. I think that's going to be an interesting one. Vancouver taking on the Utah Hockey Club. Still not going to get used to saying that. And Winnipeg and Anaheim also rounding out the small slate of games, but a lot of focus on college hoops with the NBA off tonight. And who better to talk college hoops with than our good friend Colby Gant in the house, ready to go here. And Colby, it's nice. We got a little less, no NBA tonight after we watched OKC get run out of Vegas last night by the Milwaukee Bucks. And let me ask you this, though. I mean, that's back-to-back years now where the old school guys found the energy and the effort to play defense, actually wanted to win it. It was LeBron and AD last year beating the upstart Pacers. And now we just saw Giannis, who's basically told everyone all week he had no intentions of going to Vegas and losing again. So I guess maybe that's the handicap moving forward, right? The old guard saying, yeah, we want this cup here. I can't believe it, but that's apparently what we got going.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a new wrinkle to it. But, I wondered in general, even coming in, how much they really cared about the NBA Cup. It just seems like kind of a gimmick thing, but look, it makes a little bit of sense to me that the older players would have a little bit more edge or a little bit more reason. Mm-hmm. You start thinking about life a little differently. I feel like in your older years in the NBA than perhaps the youth movement. But I mean, what do you make of the NBA Cup in general? I mean, do you like this thing?
I liked it because anytime you can give me, and what we have in the semis and the finals. So that was 6 games, 6 dead unders in the totals. And we both know defense is effort in the NBA. It's nothing else. It's not scheme and athleticism. It's effort. And for those guys to put in that kind of effort to go woefully under the total all the time, as long as they take it serious, Kobe, I'm good with it. So I got, as long as they put the effort in, I think it'll be entertaining enough, and more NBA fans will actually sign on before Christmas gets here. I thought we were going to get more defense in this Georgetown-Creighton game here, but apparently I was wrong, because Georgetown out to a 25-20 lead here at home. I didn't know what to make with Georgetown. A very easy schedule thus far, but am I crazy here in thinking that maybe Creighton, we should be jumping in at Creighton right now? What did you think we were going to get here?
Yeah, the line was surprising to me. I know it went up a little bit overnight, but yeah, Georgetown and Ed Cooley have played nobody with the pulse. I thought it was very, very brave of him to call out the DC fans, saying, "Where are you guys at? Yeah, I thought you guys had good fans." It's like, you're playing Wagner. Why should we come out if you're playing so many bad teams? But they're young. I will say this: Cooley has brought in athleticism that they haven't seen in a while. So athleticism could play off there at home. But yeah, I think, to answer your question in the beginning, Creighton, I trust McDermott a little bit more. They're more of a experienced roster. So I think it would be a good time to buy in on the Blue Jays.
You've got just tipping off now, number 21 Memphis taking on Virginia. Virginia getting points, and the total being 130, 131, something along those lines. A year or so, 2 years ago would have been unfathomable, but here we are. It's a program that they're struggling. I think they're going to keep struggling when your Hall of Fame coach steps down a week before the season. But are we trusting Memphis to go on the road and handle this?
I mean, does this line make any sense to you?
None.
Memphis beat them by 20 last year. Now, granted, that was at Memphis, but they had Tony Bennett, who's one of the best college coaches in the past 20 years. Memphis is known to give you a lemon. I think the Rice Owls beat them last year. This year, Arkansas State. I still went Memphis because I've watched this UVA team, and I swear they don't have one athlete on this team. So I just think Memphis's athleticism is too much. Another thing is students aren't on campus, so I don't know how many people will even be at this game. I kind of think it'll be kind of a half-empty stadium. So I went with the Memphis Tigers, but this line made no sense to me. I for this game specifically, I actually stayed away just because I thought this line should be more like 9.5 or 10. But I would say Memphis is still the play that I would trust more.
I'm very skeptical of Alabama going to North Dakota and covering by 26 points here in a game that, if I'm Alabama, all I want to do is get the hell out of North Dakota as quick as possible. So hurry up, win the game, and get me on the plane. Let's get out of here. Are you confident enough to lay it here?
No, I actually took the other side, and I was, I do my show last night. I was sitting there. I had to go check both team websites to make sure this game was accurate. I was like, wait, they're in Grand Forks, North Dakota. They're not I don't even understand how this game's scheduled, but I guess kudos. But I'll tell you this: everyone in North Dakota, they're going to this game because this is the number 6 team in the nation. This is your only time you're going to see Alabama in your life, probably. So I just thought, what's the motivation here? What's the motivation for this Alabama team, especially knowing that you've had such a great run so far this season, but North Dakota's actually playing a lot better. I know 4-8. You look at them and say 4-8, they're terrible. Yeah. They're way better than a year ago. They were one of the bottom 10 teams in the country a year ago. I think they show some respect to the Dakotas. I think Bama wins by 19-20, but the Fighting Hawks get the cover there.
Yeah, it feels like the back door is going to be open a lot in the second half there. How about the big one here tonight? Undefeated Oklahoma taking on Michigan. Is Oklahoma? I mean, you can only play the teams on the schedule, Colby, right? Are if they beat Michigan, they make me a believer. Will they?
I don't think they will, but I was impressed in the Bedlam game there against Oklahoma State. I took the Sooners, but this is, I think, where the rubber meets the road. Like, this is Michigan is transition. Like, they play at a fast pace. I don't know that Oklahoma can adapt to that based on the teams we've seen them play thus far this year. And another thing is that sneaky, if you know, that Michigan's been in this Jumpman tournament 3 or 4 years now. They have a sneaky home crowd there. Like, a lot of them show up there. So I think Dusty May has got Michigan way ahead of schedule. Yes, they have a little defensive woes at times, but I just think this team is very capable, and I think they're going to win the game outright. And I like laying the 4.5. I know it's jumped up a little bit, but I still like laying the 4.5.
All right, so I want to ask you about Butler and Marquette. We'll get to that game. You got time to come back and hang with us for one more segment there? You think you can? You think you can do it there? I mean, no pressure. I'm only putting you on the spot. If you say no, we'll never talk to you again. So it's completely up to you, honestly, if you'd like to come back. But I want to get your thoughts on Butler and Marquette. Also, I want to get your thoughts on this, the other game here tonight that's coming up with the Zags, which I find interesting. And then, of course, the late night Apple Cup. We'll talk a couple more college hoops. And then the LA Bowl kicking off at 9 o'clock here tonight. I want to see if you've got any action on that game. And a quick look here, I do believe they ended up scoring in the Boca Raton Bowl. We'll get you updated there. Colby Dant, another hour here coming up.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Two guys that can do it all. Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was the but he had that program was already going there.
Only on SportsGrid.
Back in here, GameTime Decisions on the SportsGrid Network. Happy Wednesday to you. Joe Raineri joined again gracefully by one. Colby Dant ready to go here tonight. College basketball, Colby. A quick update, though. Western, it looks like Western Kentucky did score before the break. They got a 14-7 lead over JMU in the Boca Raton Bowl. I'll get your thoughts here in a second on the LA Bowl coming up a little bit later here. But let's talk about some of these late games here. The Zags also laying a unbelievable number here tonight in college basketball. But with them, it always feels like late in the first half and then watch them take their foot off the gas in the second half and the back door be wide open here. What are you thinking we get from them? Clearly, they should be able to win this game by as many as they want.
Yeah, no, I actually like. I placed a wager on them minus the points, even with that big number. When you think about it, Nichols just is it's wrong place, wrong time. I mean, bad enough that you have to go to the kennel and take on Gonzaga, but Gonzaga's lost back-to-back games here. You know what I mean? So when's the last time that's happened under Mark Few? I think you just lay the points, but I like the first half angle too. I actually think you could probably cash on both. So lay the number. I know it shot up 2 points, from this morning to right now, but I still think. I think this is a 40-point win for them. Like, I think they're going to drill Nichols. And it's just about the timing of this, and you can't have a third loss here. So I'm laying them there. And the kennel is such a good home environment too. I also think Nichols hasn't played in any environment that's really like that thus far this year.
Yep. Talk to me about Butler taking on Marquette in Marquette here. Just feels like it's a bad matchup for Butler here, but you trust them to lay the points, Marquette, here at home?
No, I'm actually on Butler. That modest team kind of plays to their competition. They're all over the place to me. But if you look historically here, I feel like, I think they won in Marquette last season. And really part of me is just like, I don't like Shaka Smart whenever he's a double-digit favorite. Shaka Smart is a great play to me as a dog. Thad Matta and Butler kind of they've shown this year. They've had some big wins, but they've also had head-scratching losses to North Dakota State, to Austin Peay. But I think they can come in there and stay within this number, and it wouldn't even shock me. I mean, I think Marquette wins the game because they're coming off the loss to Dayton, but I do think I wouldn't be surprised. This is a close game, 2 or 3 minutes left in anyone's game in that regard. But I only played the points here. I didn't play the money line, but it wouldn't shock me. Like I said, I think they won at Marquette last season or the year before that. Thad Matta's been there. This is year 3. One of those years he won in Marquette there in Milwaukee. So I'm on the points here. I'm seeing I see a 14.5 out there right now. I think that's way too many points for a Big East game where they're very familiar with each other.
So I always love Gonzaga in the first half. I also love betting Houston in the first half of games, as they usually just suffocate you and cover their number no matter what. They're laying 30 against Toledo here tonight at home, but it feels like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just give me Houston in the first half here.
Yeah, no, and I love this one too. It's very similar to the Zags play. I think you're going to hit with both. Toledo's actually pretty bad this year. You saw them just lose to Youngstown State, and Toledo they're playing like a really terrible defense this year. And I think Houston, you saw it against they played Troy recently. They held Troy to I think it was 46 points. They drill a lot of these mid-majors. So I think they'll do the same here with Toledo heading down there. This Toledo team, I think they're living off their rep from the past couple years. People think, oh, it's a good team because Toledo's been good in the MAC. Yeah. This is their worst team in 7 or 8 years. So give me Houston minus the points there. I like the first half and the full game.
So one of the underrated games of the night, I thought, was the Dons heading to take on the Bradley Braves. Dons 9-2. Bradley also very good here. It was -2, I think. This is the first true road game for the Dons here. It felt like maybe Bradley might not be a bad pick here tonight to get the better of the Dons, who are on the road.
No, anytime Bradley is in Peoria there, I love that play. I know San Francisco's been out there. They were in Milwaukee. They took on Loyola Chicago and beat them in Milwaukee the other night in a game that I was on. But I just think Bradley at home is one of the best mid-major home court advantages. Duke Dean, their guard's a player. So give me Bradley to send a message to the West Coast Conference saying you come to Peoria, you take an L. So that's one of my favorite plays on the board there. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Such a small number, too. Didn't make any sense there. And also one of the more underrated games, the Pit tonight, VCU traveling to the Pit to take on New Mexico. Interesting matchup here. Do we like VCU to get it done? That's a tough place to play.
Yeah, I'm all over New Mexico here. I know you can look at if you can trick yourself to taking VCU here because VCU shoots the three so well, and New Mexico is such a bad defensive team when it comes to the 3-point line. But don't get it twisted. You're at elevation. You're far away from home, and this place, I think, I know you're familiar with this, but this is one of the hardest places to grab a win in all of college basketball. Woo. This is one of the loudest stadiums I think you can find, and I'll put that up against the Big 12 or old Pac-12, whatever, Big 10. Like, it is a really, if you haven't been, and that's the edge. And here's another thing. The last time they played a D1 opponent, they lost at home to New Mexico State in a rivalry game. So I think Richard Pitino has this one circled. You can't get embarrassed here. You can't lose 2 in a row at home at the Pit. And this is a big win for the for the bubble because VCU is probably going to be a bubble team. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't see them dictating the tempo here to New Mexico in the Pit at all. All right, tonight, the LA Bowl, Cal, UNLV. UNLV lost their offensive coordinator as well. Wilcox as a dog has been profitable. What are we thinking?
Yeah, this is strictly for me. Like, in a lot of these games, give me the continuity. Barry Odom and Brendan Marion are gone from UNLV. Also, Ricky White, their stud wideout, sitting out. Give me the continuity in Cal despite Mendoza not playing. Their third-string quarterback played 8 games in the MAC a year ago, C.J. Harris. So let's go. Give me the Cal Golden Bears.
I love it. That smells like money, people. Colby Dant, always a pleasure, brother. Happy holidays to you and the family. Game Time Decisions back after this.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you stopping by as we have our eye on a lot of college basketball here tonight. Plenty of great games underway. We've got top 25 action across the board getting ready to tip off at the top of the hour into the 9 p.m. hour. But right now, I'm looking at Creighton losing at the break to Georgetown 34-28. That was an interesting game ahead of time. A lot of Creighton love in the marketplace, but Georgetown handling their business and playing some defense, still trending towards the under, which I think is a good thing here. UConn also in action here tonight, and they appear to be handling their business actually rather easily against Xavier, who is struggling, to say the least this year. Not your great Xavier teams of years past. I also am seeing it's 20-12, by the way, with about 9 minutes ago in the first there. I'm also seeing Virginia at home getting points against Memphis. And we just talked to Colby Dan. He pointed out, like, the line made no sense here. Virginia getting 4.5 in that game from Memphis, who absolutely destroyed them a year ago. And that was with Tony Bennett as their head coach, but no more this year. But it looks like Virginia might have been able to figure a few things out. 19-14. 8.5 minutes ago in the first half there. Virginia did not like being a home dog in this one here. So we got a lot of college basketball underway. We got a ton of games still coming up a little bit later. Of course, we still have plenty of NFL action to get to also, as the Broncos and Chargers will be your Thursday night football game to kick off the Week 16 slate. And then, of course, we do have, it's interesting, not one but two Saturday games coming up this week. The Texans and the Chiefs, as well as the Steelers and the Ravens. Couple of really good Saturday games. And, of course, the big question with the Chiefs is going to be whether or not Patrick Mahomes is going to be available. It wouldn't matter to me if he thinks he can play. I don't see him playing in this game, nor do I see it making any sense for him to even try and play in this game. There are bigger fish to fry, and quite honestly, the defense of the Chiefs will have no problem limiting C.J. Stroud and the offense of the Houston Texans, who even winning last week, coming out of a bye against Miami. And we told you here all last week, we told you how much we liked Houston early in the game, but you can't trust them in the second half. They're one of the worst ATS teams in the second half of games. They're pretty good in the first half. Actually, they're the number one profitable NFL team in the first half this year against the number. Why? Well, they got a pretty good offensive coordinator. They scheme really, really well, and that defense is no joke. They got after Tua last week. They were able to handle their business early. The defense set them up. They got less than 200 total yards of offense in that game last week against the Miami defense. They are going to get even less on the road at Arrowhead against Spagnuolo here and this Chiefs defense. I think Carson Wentz, listen, it ain't going to be pretty, but he's more than capable, and the coaching staff more than capable of putting him in a position to be able to do just enough and beat this Houston team, who has severe offensive line issues. Protecting Stroud on the road, not a recipe for success there. I like the under, and I do like the Chiefs even minus. And grab it now, it's like 3.5. If Mahomes gets signed in and it gets announced that he's playing, this line is going to go crazy. But I got no problem. I think Carson Wentz more than enough to be able to beat this Houston team. And then the Steelers and the Ravens. Ravens laying just under a touchdown here. That total is very interesting to me, given the fact that these two teams, we already watched them play earlier this year, and they didn't sniff 45 points, not even sniff. And now all of a sudden, we're expecting some sort of wild shootout. I have reservations about that. Is Watt going? Is Pickens going? Still some questions that need to be answered there with the Steelers. But the one thing I know is that the Ravens, well, it's always a good game against the Steelers. We'll have more on the NFL slate when Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you stopping by as we are getting ready for a big Week 16 slate of games. Brady Cannon, our friend, dropping by here to talk about some of these big Week 16 matchups. And Brady, we were just talking, I saw a lot of clips from Shadow Creek there on the PGA Tour. Rory, of course, and who else? Scotty Scheffler, and the guy's just a machine. I did enjoy the event, though. What's the buzz with what we got there?
Well, you know, it was a little bit of an exhibition, obviously, nothing too dramatic. You know, I thought it was kind of unfortunate they do this in the wintertime when it's dark out here at 4:30 in the afternoon. And, you know, I understand they can't put this on TV at 10 a.m. because no one will watch, but, you know, they put it on at 6 p.m. Eastern and, you know, they're not really getting going until 6:30 or 7. And by that time it's dark and you don't really get to see the star of the show, which is Shadow Creek. But, you know, I handicapped this thing a while ago when they came out with this matchup. And I said, Rory and Bryson are going to be in each other's heads over the U.S. Open. And that duel that they had that you know, Rory kind of blew and Bryson took advantage of it. And I said, Koepka, it's not a major, so he doesn't care. And Scotty Scheffler, I said, it doesn't matter who, when, what, where, or why. He wants to beat you and beat you badly. And minus 150 seems cheap if I'm just going to bet on Scotty Scheffler to find a way to win this thing. And sure enough, he and Rory did win it. And actually, Rory was, you know, a big contributor, got out to a hot start. So, you know, PGA Tour 1, Live nothing. But, yeah, that was kind of cool to see, you know, the Live versus the PGA matched up like that. And hopefully they'll do more of that type of thing. Or hopefully, Joe, eventually they'll come together, for God's sakes, and we can watch everybody play.
Thank you very much. I was going to say, I think that's the next step. Is enough with this. There's, there's plenty of great golfers around. Everybody can live and be happy all together here. So, looking forward to the PGA season kicking off after the new year. But in the meantime, Brady, we got a lot of interesting games coming up here in this Week 16 slate. Maybe none more important than the one we're going to get tomorrow night with the Broncos and your Chargers. Listen, Broncos win, they clinch a playoff spot, which quite honestly, with almost $88 million in dead money, a rookie quarterback, I have no idea how he pulled this thing off, but yet here the Broncos are, and the same thing with the Chargers. If they win, they get a little help. Guess what? They're going to be in the playoffs here this year. So pretty big game for two teams offensively that haven't exactly been playing great, no?
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers have really been slipping. It's kind of been, I don't know if the tale of two halves is exactly accurate because it started for Los Angeles, I want to say about 5 weeks ago when they really started facing some legitimate offenses. That defense that looked so good to begin the year got up against some real deal offenses like the Ravens and the Bengals and the Buccaneers, and they haven't had nearly as much success. And on the flip side, Denver has really just had their foot on the gas and have turned it on. Now, the numbers are a little bit skewed in Denver's case because they played a lot of weak competition. They played the Falcons and they played the Colts. They haven't really been beaten up on the big boys. They were crushed, in fact, by the Baltimore Ravens. I really hope both of these teams make the playoffs. I think they're both very exciting to watch. They're very well coached. They play good defense. Denver plays really good defense. I'd like to see them both in the dance, but I just don't understand how this came out as the Chargers is a 3-point favorite. There's no home field advantage there. In fact, it'll probably be loaded with about 65% Bronco fans. And I made the Chargers. Let's see. I think I made them. Yeah, I made them a 1-point favorite. It came out 3. And then when I crunch all my stats, I have Denver actually favored significantly, better than a field goal. I said their numbers are a little skewed, but I really think Denver probably should be the favorite in this game.
Yeah, well, they're going to have to get a little bit more stable play from Bo Nix and company there, but certainly defensively, they've done a really good job of putting them one win away from the playoffs, Brady. It's kind of hard to believe. Saturday is coming. I was just talking about, of course, Pittsburgh, Baltimore. It doesn't get any better than that. I'm still scratching my head Saturday about how in the world this total is going to get to 45 since these two teams, the first one to 20 usually wins, Brady. That's how these two teams play. But do we trust the Ravens to hold serve? It feels like a big number here, no?
I agree with you. I couldn't believe it came out 6.5. These games are always decided by less than a touchdown. Winning by 7, 8, 9 points, it just doesn't happen in this series. And usually it's by 3 points, and usually it's the underdog. I made the number 3.5 in favor of Baltimore. When I crunch the stats, I come out with 4.5. And I think 4.5 seems about right. And that I don't know if the books are adding 2 points to this, Joe, because of the question mark on Pickens and Watt. If Pickens and Watt cannot play, then I think it probably is 6.5. TJ Watt, some odds makers might tell you is worth 2 points himself. Pickens maybe is worth 0.5 point. He seems to be worth a lot to this Pittsburgh Steelers offense. So if those two guys are out, I'm not going to touch this game. If they're in, I'm going to try and run to the window before this price drops.
So one of the better games this weekend is going to be the Eagles taking on the Commanders here for round 2. I mean, it can be argued, Brady, nobody is playing better than the Eagles right now on both sides of the ball. But the Commanders, this is, they're still trying to hold on to a playoff spot here. I don't want to say must win, but you got to beat somebody here at this point if we're going to take you seriously.
I think they're going to get it done, Joe. This is the first and only bet I have placed of the week so far. Certainly I'll have a few more, but this was the first bet that I made. I took the 3.5 with the Commanders. Same season revenge here. We know Philadelphia got them earlier. The Commanders' defense has really been improving quite a bit in the last few weeks. They've been much better in stopping the run. They've improved in defense against the pass. You're right. Nobody really hotter than Philadelphia right now. And I wonder if that's kind of getting in their heads a little bit, a little bit fat and happy. Stock's pretty high right now on the Eagles. Everybody's kind of throwing the Lions aside. And, now it's the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. Slow down just a minute. This is going to be probably the toughest game they have left on the schedule. And I think they could trip up. If you look at Dan Quinn, he has just absolutely been incredible against teams he is very, very familiar with. When he was an assistant with the Seattle Seahawks, and then he got hired as the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, the Falcons that year against his former division, the NFC West, went like 4-1 against the spread. And then from Atlanta, he got hired as the defensive coordinator for Dallas. The Cowboys, against his former division, the NFC South, went 4-0 against the spread. Now he's in the same division again, the NFC East, where he's becoming even more familiar. And oh, by the way, his offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury, when he was head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, 7-0 against the number against the NFC East. These two guys know that division inside and out. I bet them every game they play division this year, and I think we've only lost once so far. And that was against, actually, it's been twice. The crazy game against Dallas and the other loss against the Eagles. So I believe they're like 3-2 against the division so far this season against the number. I'm going to play that they cover here again, and I think they might win this one outright and upset that Philadelphia party for a minute.
I love that. All right, so did you agree with the move with Atlanta benching Cousins, going with the rookie Penix in Week 16?
I guess you kind of here's the thing. If Cousins can't get it done against the Raiders and the Giants, what is going on? And I don't understand how he turned the corner and went south so quickly. He went from throwing for 500 yards to being the worst quarterback in the league like overnight. I guess you had to do something, but I don't know if it's going to, unless they get the new quarterback bounce, but I don't know. I think Atlanta's in trouble. Tampa Bay's going to win that division.
I'll tell you how they do it. You know how you go from really good to really bad? Your offensive coordinator has issues. Brady, we appreciate it as always, my man. Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all, because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network. I'm Joe Raineri, and a great night of college basketball underway with some big name teams going at it. You've got UConn, who was laying 13.5, 14 points against Xavier. Well, they're in a close one, a much closer one than they thought. In fact, they're now trailing in that with about a minute to go in the first half. I'm going to have to keep an eye on this game for the opportunity of actually being able to jump in and get a much better number on UConn, who I have a lot of faith in the second half should be able to put it together here and run away. A lot of games getting ready here coming up at the top of the hour to get going. And I think, of course, a lot of us aren't in a rush to lay some crazy numbers here with the likes of, Gonzaga, who's taking on Nichols, coming off. I mean, wrong place, wrong time here if you are Nichols. I don't know that that's great. Alabama and North Dakota is also very interesting. I don't know that I'm running to the window to lay 26, 25.5 in that one. And then you got a team like Houston looking to lay nearly 30 points against Toledo, which makes it interesting. But you do have some other games that are going to be very close, and you can tell that by the spreads when you've got a couple of top 25 teams, with Michigan taking on Oklahoma, who is yet to lose a game, 10-0 on the season in that one. I think that's going to be a real interesting matchup here. Is OU. Listen, all you can do is play the teams on the schedule, right? What else are you supposed to do? Michigan, in the meantime, when you compare these two schedules, and let me ask Scotty Wetzel here, Mr. Opposite Picks, joining us. Scotty, when you look at the two teams, the schedules that both these teams have played, I mean, kudos. You can only play who's on your schedule, but this is apples to oranges, man. Michigan has played everybody. OU has played nobody here. What happens in this game tonight?
Yeah, it's only their second game against a ranked team. They did win the other one, though, Joe. They're undefeated, 10-0, beat Arizona, so I'm going to give them credit for that. I'm going to take the points here. They played in this tournament. It's called the Jumpman Invitational last season, and they lost, and it kind of set them on a tailspin, which really kind of ruined their season. So I'm guessing they know that, going to use that as a source of motivation. So I'm going to grab Alabama, or I'm going to grab Oklahoma. They average over 10 steals a game. And Michigan averages over 15 turnovers a game, which is one of the worst in college basketball. So not a good combination. We're going to grab Oklahoma there. We're going to take a couple of unders and a couple of overs here. I do like. I like the under in the Houston game against Toledo. You said it. You can't lay the monster numbers, right? But I always play unders in Cougar games. They're 5-0 under this year. At home, rather. And that's where this game is. So give me the under 141.5. We're going to go with over Alabama, North Dakota. Again, why even play the game, right? You can't lay the 26 or whatever it is on the road. But give me the over. Bama's a strong over team, 7-3 last 10 road games over. And North Dakota, 4-1 over last 5 home games. So maybe we will get a little something out of North Dakota. And then I'll grab the over in the Zaga-Nichols game. Zaga 7-3 over. They're an over machine. Always have been. So let's continue tonight with the over.
Yeah, we look at those. I mean, those are the 3 biggest spread games, for the top 25 teams. I usually always like to look at those games in the first half with those teams because you never know what you're going to get in the second half. But I like your approach as well. Just give me the overs in all of them, either an over or an under, depending on how much I think that other team can actually contribute. The total is always a good way to look at it. And then do they call it the Apple Cup still, Scotty? I guess Washington State plays Washington football, basketball. What's the difference? It feels like it's the Apple Cup. 2.5, I think Washington laying in here. What did you like in that one?
Yeah, I like Washington. Washington State's pretty good, but they're all banged up, Joe. They lost their leading scorer, Cedric Coward. He's got shoulder surgery. Their other guards got shoulder surgery this week as well. They're both gone for the rest of the season. And then they got a third player that's out more than likely for the rest of the season. So they've been able to win, but this is like one too many injuries. Give me Washington at home, laying only 2.5 in a non-conference game between Washington and Washington State, since they're no longer.
Oh, I like that. I like that. I'm with you there. Talk to me about the LA Cup coming up here tonight. UNLV taking on California. We got one bowl game underway right now, Scotty, in Boca Raton. It's 14-14 with about 3 minutes to go in the third quarter there, Western Kentucky and JMU. But who did you like? UNLV, all the coaches are gone. The quarterback's gone for Cal, but who do you give the edge to here?
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Cal. You know, at least their head coach is still there. Their assistant coaches are still there. You mentioned that Barry Odom left and no doubt took a whole bunch of assistant coaches with him, or the assistant coaches that are hanging around all know they're going to be out of a job as soon as this game is over. So I don't think they're really worried about this. And, you know, this was an upset win away from playing in the college football championship. This is the classic bowl game letdown. You know, you knock off Boise and you're playing in the college football championship tournament. Instead, you're playing California in the LA Bowl with Rob Gronkowski as the maitre d'. I mean, so give me Cal. It's a home game for them, and they got a reason to play because everyone wants to finish 7-6. You don't want to finish 6-7. So give me Cal plus the 3.5.
I like that there. Big night also on the ice here tonight, Scotty, with a couple of really interesting games. My Panthers taking on the Minnesota Wild tonight at 9:30. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I got 4 strong plays, Joe. I'll throw at you. I do like the over in that game, over 5.5, Florida and Minnesota. Minnesota, 98 goals, 5th most in the West. Florida, 113 goals, 3rd most in the East. It's a strong over series when the two get together, 6-2 over. So give me the over 5.5. Love Dallas laying only $1.35 at home against Toronto. I know the line is this way because Toronto has beaten Dallas 5 straight. But you know what? They're only 5-8 on the road, Toronto. So give me Dallas at home, laying a small number. I'll grab Winnipeg, basically even in regulation against the Ducks, who they've beaten 9 of their last 10, and give me Vancouver even at Utah.
Love that. Scotty, we'll see you here top of the hour for In-Game Live as Game Time Decisions closes it out next here on the Grid.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network as we look to close out this edition here, giving way, of course, to In-Game Live. You just saw the one and only Scotty Wetzel. He'll be taking over, and he will follow up on all of these college basketball games here tonight. He had mentioned a couple of plays in the NHL that he liked, a couple of games underway right now. In fact, with the Flyers and Red Wings knotted up at 1 apiece there in the first intermission there. Also, Maple Leafs and Dallas Stars, a good one tonight. They are in the first period. That, too, is knotted up 1 apiece. Panthers and Wild, that'll be another big game. That is coming up at 9:30 Eastern time here tonight. Total at 5.5 in that one, and I believe Scotty likes the over in that game. Keeping an eye on a lot of the college hoops, too, by the way, as Georgetown just running it away from Creighton, 62-41 in that matchup there. Also, UConn trailing at the break, 30-29. Xavier with a barrage at the end of the first half to take the lead against UConn. Yikes. UConn was laying 14.5 in that game, but UConn now laying just 7 points there as that second half is getting ready to kick off. We mentioned also, couldn't understand the Virginia line here, as Virginia was a home dog. There at the break, 30-21, Virginia over Memphis. Number 21, Memphis, having a tough go of it. 119.5 is the in-game number total in that game. So that is going to be interesting. Number 15, Houston, taking on Toledo. Coming up here in just a few minutes, my Oklahoma State Cowboys should have no problem beating Tarleton State here tonight. They are laying 20.5. That'll be in Stillwater. And one of the more underrated games, we talked to our good friend Colby Dant earlier this hour. He and I are both on the Bradley Braves to get it done at home here tonight, as the visiting San Francisco Dons are coming to town in Peoria, Illinois. So we like the Bradley Braves at a pretty decent price there. You can lay the 2, -140 on the money line. Certainly like the Braves to get it done here. And then, of course, we'll give way tonight to Alabama and North Dakota. Alabama in North Dakota, laying 25. Gonzaga, number 13, off of back-to-back losses, taking on Nicholls State at home. They should have no problem getting back in the win column against Nicholls State. And then the big game tonight, number 14, Oklahoma, taking on number 24, Michigan. And we like Michigan to handle business and give OU their first loss of the season here at the Jumpman Classic. That game coming up just after 9 o'clock Eastern time here. And a quick peek into the college football bowl games right now. James Madison has a field goal lead over Western Kentucky, 17-14. That is coming to an end in the third quarter, I believe. So it's put up or shut up time here for Western Kentucky, but a good game with James Madison closing as a point favorite in that one. The total closed right around 49.5, and the in-game number 44.5. Points have been tough to come by. And then the LA Bowl tonight with UNLV laying more than a field goal right now, 3.5 points over Cal. The Bears, Justin Wilcox, head coach there, has always been a very profitable underdog throughout the years on the road. He's at a neutral site game here with the LA Bowl. UNLV's lost Barry Odom. They lost their offensive coordinator. They lost their All-American wide receiver, as White is not playing tonight. He'll be sitting it out as he gets ready for the NFL draft here. He will definitely have his name called in the draft coming up this year in the NFL. So a lot of turnover for UNLV, not so much for Cal outside of the quarterback spot there. They've got an experienced backup that'll be under center in this game. I like the 3.5 with Cal here tonight. And, of course, no NBA tonight as they finished off the NBA Cup last night. Full slate of games coming up tomorrow in the association. Don't go anywhere. Get ready. In-game live. We pass the baton off. We'll see you again tomorrow here on Game Time Decisions.
I'm actually not even on a side today.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that. Why are you on Texas?
I gave them a challenge. Maybe not me as the overwhelming authority in college football, but entering that game on